word by code word, just take it past then you will find your problem much faster than sitting there not doing anything. Right? Just trying to read through it, not saying it out loud. If you verbalize it and actually say it out loud, you will find your problem much faster. And I mean everything. You do something crazy like this, which somebody did, and it took me a minute.
I think this is a light the fact that we basically most of us said we give up, right? We give up trying to get this complete, give up trying to get complete code. And I think majority of them just were pretty sure all of it. I think a little positive speed causes everyone to keep doing it. I mean, it was great, but we don't know.
We will not be squeaking fucking ducks all day in class. In our language, it's just not going to happen.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out why it's squeezed.
Because it's for kids.
It's hard to see it because it's from the outside.
No, that's hard. There we go. It's hard to it's hard to video.
Yeah, I think it's really
Yeah, this is gonna drive my dog crazy if I'm sitting here speaking this thing.
Right, so I saw this in a student's code the other yesterday, maybe day before, I don't remember when, right? And they were stuck, couldn't figure out why it wasn't doing what it's supposed to do. Why are they not doing what they're supposed to do? Because that semicolon right there, right? So if you literally go for int r equals 0, semicolon, r is less than generation, period length, semicolon, r plus plus, parentheses, semicolon, you will catch your mistake. Okay? And you do that by talking to your duck, or your cat, or your dog, or your spouse, girlfriend, significant other, child. I have a spouse. I talk to my spouse all the time. She has no freaking clue what I'm saying, but I still talk to my spouse all the time. Hey Nate, grab one for, Nate or Tom, grab one for Sydney, because she fell down and hit her head twice or something, literally. Ended up with a concussion. She was in the ER for like half a day.
That's a big
Probably telling you information I'm not supposed to tell you. She's alive still. I hope she comes to class tomorrow with like the head wrapped up. Oh God, right? That would just top off the whole thing. I didn't hear what happened. She just said she got a concussion. I'm making up the rest of it. I was like, oh, somebody said she got a concussion this weekend and she spent half the day in the ER or a full day in the ER or whatever, which is always fun. So. Questions on anything up to this point? So the first question is, when's our exam this week?
Wait, what?
Huh?
Exam?
We were supposed to have an exam last Friday,
Thursday.
which we didn't do because we extended now until March 16th, correct?
True.
So I would like to have an exam this week.
Friday.
So Thursday or Friday?
Thursday.
I'm here. I can do tomorrow. Now technically by school policy I have to give you 72 hours, which would be Thursday. Not quite, but Friday would be technically 72 hours. But if everybody agrees that Thursday's fine, then it's Thursday. But. So how many people want Thursday? 2, 4, 6, 8. How many people want Friday?
Thursday.
No.
I would say our exam will be on Friday then.
No.
Don't you love it?
It's a democracy in this class. It is not a dictatorship. You can have doesn't matter. Whatever. Thank you. Somebody got a duck that wanted a duck?
Sorry to say, but no, this is not a democracy. It's a democracy.
Oh, yeah.
It's your sweet.
I'm hoping to have this one,
Sorry.
for this one uploaded. Compile it to an MP4.
Okay.
Upload it, so probably like an hour.
Do you want me to talk about the last assignment?
Yes, please.
Please. Por favor.
Specifically the run solutions.
So what do you want me to talk about?
So I could not figure out for the life of me how to navigate the 2D array.
Okay, so you want me to talk about, hang on.
Same here. I gave up trying to get 2D array to print.
Like
I
literally
managed to
probably spent 3 hours, and I'm not ashamed to say.
I
Only
started my
3
code-
hours?
On that one
Oh,
method.
okay, just checking out.
I set up my code for 2 days because the anything died.
Yeah. I'm sorry
Yeah.
about that, bro. Linear search is a good idea.
By the way, I have to leave. I have to leave at. I have to leave at 1 o'clock today. The plumber's coming to the house to fix the bathroom toilet and something else.
Ooh, Valentine's Day was rough.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anybody here own a house? What do you think, Paul?
I've done my bathroom and I've done my water heater.
I've done those, but something like when the leak in the ceiling is causing it to drip onto the floor, I'm gonna call a plumber for that shit. It's just, yeah. I've done all that stuff too, but it's just like, you know, my toilet literally sits in a little thing like about this big, and it's leaking, and it's like, I can pull that bitch out myself and do it, but yeah. I'm just, Shirley and I, my wife and I are well off enough that we can afford to pay somebody to do that, so come over and do that. That, and he's gotta fix my kitchen faucet, and I can do that too, but nothing worse than laying on my back with the kitchen faucet above my head, so, you know?
Yeah, our kitchen faucet fell. Like that solution, probably have a bunch of wood blocks. So now it's gonna hold it, but it holds up with it. So that holds up. Yeah, it works, but there's so holes inside. If you're not careful, it'll just leak into the cabinet below the sink. But it still works, so I can't argue with it.
Okay, so I have not showing you anything on the overhead yet because I'm not hooked up. I have been swamped today. This job wouldn't be so bad if it didn't have any students in it. You're welcome, Jessica. You're welcome. Actually, the best part of the job most of the time is students.
And there's meetings.
Okay. Please don't let me forget the ducks when I walk out of here.
We'll just squeeze it on the
DuckTales.
range.
I'm actually a vampire, that's why I like the lights off, right? The sunshine, it hurts me.
Too bad. Yeah, you gotta close the blinds.
You're not pale enough, mate.
I don't use dark mode just because I'm old and I now have to wear cheater reading glasses. Otherwise, I used to love dark mode, so. Okay, so we've all okay with this method right here. I didn't write the read num method, I wrote it on the whiteboard, right? Everybody's
Yeah.
okay with this method? Literally, it's just a fin.next line, converts it to an int. And we're all okay with the print or not okay with the print?
Depends on which print.
So this is the print the 2D array, and then this is the print the 2D array with the day, right?
Day.
And
Okay,
if
the
you
day
listened
one.
in class, I talked about this in class one day, and I said that's a typo. That should not be 1 there, that should be a 0.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. So this one is just simply gonna look like this, right? It's gonna say system.out.println, double quotes generation, plus parentheses day, plus 1, right? Obviously there's a precondition I didn't do. And then here is gonna be nested for loops, right? Int r get 0, r is less than array length r plus plus, and then inside of there you're gonna have for int c get 0, c is less than array sub r per row dot length c plus plus. And then in here, you're gonna have system.out.println. And I'll come back to this in a minute, but for the time being, or it's system.out.print, array, sub r, sub c, plus the space, like so. And then at the end of that for loop, you're gonna simply have a system.out.println to give you the carriage return. So when I do this now, so let me do this real quick. I'm not gonna write any preconditioned stuff just so I can get this to work. Integer, parse, int, fin dot next line. Here for fill generation, it's going to be int square brackets array gets new int square bracket 10 square bracket 10 square bracket, and then pop down here. Got this code here for a minute. Right, so it's a curly bracket. No, it didn't. Okay, good. Got this code for a sec. Paste this here. Like that. So this is gonna be array sub r sub c gets integer dot parse int fin dot next, right, like so, and then that's all I need because that's just going to pull off each individual character, right, and put it into the array, and then at the end of that I'm going to return array. Okay, so there's that. This is just printing the 1D array. Oh, yeah, do, thank you. 4.
Isn't that supposed to be a semicolon 44 int x array?
No, that's an enhanced for loop.
Wait, I don't get it. All the enhanced for loop works. I mean, I know how the regular for loop works because I've used them all a lot. But the enhanced
Okay, so we need to fill the solutions array here, so it's going to be the same thing. Int square brackets array gets new int 16 in this case. Now we're going to do a for loop. Okay, so I'm good to go there, right? Haven't done the, what one is this? Okay, so let me just copy this code again real quick. Because this is got out in the wrong spot. That's my problem. That was what's copy on. So that should be like so. Right? Okay, good. So let me just grab this real quick.
Wait, so you need a print bit for the read fee so you can progress in the rest of the text file, whatever is in there, right? For the read num fee, for the read num part. Do you need a bit fee so that you can, like, why is it so important?
Okay, so there's that, right? Again, I'm just printing the numbers, I'm not printing characters. So we've got the reading in the number of days. We've got the reading in the printing of the 2D array for each day after generation 0. We've got the 2D array for gen 0. That creates it, I mean, that's going to create it right there, okay. Here we're going to print it out. Here we're going to read in the solutions array. So the only thing we don't have is this right here, the end solution. So let me just compile this real quick, make sure this is gonna work. Thanks for telling me I'm missing a semicolon after that, appreciate that. Did I not write the file details? I did not, right? Okay, so just for this, I'm gonna do this. This is not the proper code, but right now I'm just gonna do it because I'm gonna get past this. Andromeda.txt, right? This is what's called hard coding a file name, okay? So this is called hard coding a file name. Now in here, we'll come back to this in a little bit. We'll do the whole do loop like you were supposed to do in class. But right now, just so we can talk about the solution stuff, we're gonna hard code in the file name. Okay. So now I compile this again. I run this. Okay. Oh yeah, okay, so obviously I have a null pointer exception from this, so I can, again, to get this to work now, to compile and run multiple times, instead of returning null here, I'm just gonna return the original array that I did nothing, right? Eventually it's gonna be temp, but right now I'm just gonna return the original array. Okay, so right now I'll just say return array. Now my code won't crash and burn when I go to run it. Okay, so I can see that now. It ran for whatever number of generations, right? Generation 0 solutions array. So now what I want to do is I want to write the run solution here. Okay, so here's what I need to do first of all. I need to create a temp array that is 10 by 10. So int square bracket temp gets new int 10 by 10, okay? That's my array. So now what I'm gonna do is, if you think about this, so I have the old array, the array called generation or array or whatever it's called, pass in, right? Okay? Yeah, okay. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, in this very, very first one here, we've got a 3 and a bunch of zeros, and then we've got 4 and 4, 4, right? So we've got a 3 here, we've got a 3 here, and then we've got a bunch of shit zeros for the rest of this. Okay? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what I'm gonna start here, I'm gonna go right to left, then top to bottom. Okay?
Can you go like by row? Like row?
I'm going row by row by row.
Okay.
Okay? So I've created the temp array. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, okay, for int r get 0, r is less than array dot length
We can say that array is a
r
10
plus
by 10,
plus.
correct?
What?
Maybe so that array is a 10 times 10?
That's a 10 by 10.
For array, because the array is a 10 by 10, right?
My array is 10 by 10 also.
Okay.
Okay? So I'm gonna come in here, and then above here I'm gonna declare a variable called sum. Then I'm gonna set to 0. And every time I do this for loop, I'm gonna set sum to be 0. Okay? To start with every time. I'll have to do it again quite often here. So then I'm gonna go for int c get 0, C is less than array sub R, which is again each individual row length. So you should always do this, because if I change this to be a 10 by 20 array, then if you just do array dot length here, you'll miss 10 elements in that array, right? This says what's the length of an individual row. This gives me how many rows I have. What's the length of each individual row? Do I look fat on the camera? Does it get at 10 pounds? Nice try. You say that so you don't get a bad grade? Garrett, is that what it is?
I'm gonna get a bad grade regardless.
These are rows, man. Okay. So now,
Don't you want that to be C++?
what's that?
For the
Why
for
do
the,
you have
for the
an
nested
array
for it,
all
want
by
to be C++?
itself?
Thank you. Okay. So here now.
So why do you have array R dot length instead of array dot length?
Because again, this is the individual row length. So if I had a 10 by 20 matrix, this would tell me that the row is 20 in size.
Oh.
There are 20 columns in the row, right? If I change the size of this matrix to be anything other than a square matrix, then doing array dot length will stop short of whatever number I have.
Oh.
If I went smaller, if I went 10 by 5, you would end up getting an array index out of bounds exception, because the row is only 5 columns,
Ah.
not 10. So you
But-
always do, in the inner for loop, you always do the name of the array, square bracket, the row you're on, dot length.
But for this case, you can do array dot length.
No, you cannot, because in my testing file, I'm going to change it up for some other things, and we'll change your code so it's 10 by 5 or whatever.
Oh, okay.
You always need to do the individual row length. Always get in that habit. So now, I need to get to somebody, right? So, I'm first gonna say, okay, I'm gonna say, look, okay, if array sub R, or array, if array sub R, if I'm in C is equal to if let me do it this way, sorry. If R is equal to a 0, then I know I'm here, right? And I know that I can only go forward, so I'm gonna add this and this and this right here. So I've got 2 things I gotta deal with. If I'm here, I don't have a column to my left, and if I'm here, I don't have a row above me. Okay? So I'm gonna handle that right here. If row equals 0 and column equals 0, then I know that I want the sum to be sum plus, I want the sum to be array sub R sub C, which is going to be 0, 0, right? Plus, I want the sum to be array sub R C plus 1, which is going to be this one right here. And then I want array sub R plus 1 sub C.
Okay, so I wasn't going insane.
No, I'm going insane. Okay? So I handled that special case right there, right?
Thank you.
I handled this special case.
I think you want a semicolon, they're not.
Thank you. Aiden, sorry. Aiden. Thank you, Aiden. And then I'm gonna put that into temp sub R sub C. Wait, actually, so I'm gonna take that sum now, and I'm gonna take out of, so I'm gonna get int val gets solution sub sum. Okay? So that's going to pull the value out of the solution array. Now I'm going to add that value into array sub R sub C. So int result is going to get array sub R sub C plus value. Okay? Now I'm gonna look. If res is less than 0, then res gets 0. Okay? Else, if res is greater than 3, res gets a 3. Okay? Then I'm going to say temp sub R sub C gets res. Okay? And that's the end of that if for that one spot. Now my inner for loop is going to move over, and now I'm going to be here. And now I've got to handle the next base case, right? So I'm going to say here, else, if R equals 0, okay? Else if R equals 0 and C equal 9. Okay, because I need to handle this case now. Okay?
So,
Doing all your
I guess
corners.
it's like if the row, column, thing, stuff happens, and it did it for each individual corner, but each little.
Right, so you got to do each individual, or you got to do the row corners first.
And then I did each of like when R or C equals 0/9, and then each one respectively, and then if all of those were false, then I do them.
Wait, you're going row by row.
Yeah.
So you got to handle left first, right second, and then everything in between.
I just did if else, lots of ifs. I did like.
Right,
each
but
if.
you can handle it into a lot less if else is what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
If you handle this corner and this corner, or this column and this column, right? Right, so you only need an if, an if for everything else, and so you need 5 if statements is all you need.
Oh.
You don't need a bunch more. Yes.
Handle the top and bottom.
What's that?
Wouldn't you handle the top and the bottom?
The top to bottom, right? You gotta handle this, 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 and everything else. Right? Meaning, you handle this row as you go along, that's everything else. Right?
Right.
And then you handle this column as everything else. But you gotta do it in a certain order. Because if you just said here, if R equals 0, and then you just went on, you'd end up screwing yourself over here, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta handle left, right, top, bottom, or you can do the bottom at the bottom. But
Because I just split it up into like corners, so that's 4 cases.
Yes.
Top, bottom, right side, left side.
well, if you do top, bottom, left side, right side, that's 4 cases.
Okay.
Okay. Then you got 2 more for the rest of the top and the rest of the bottom. Then you got everything else. So I guess it's 7. 7 if statements, if else statements. Yes.
So on my code, I just did a bunch of if statements that said like, if I try to -1 from this and it's less than 0, just don't run this line of code. No.
You can do it that way, but if you think about it, right, you start here. So if you handle this, and you handle everything else in between there, those are 3 if statements, right? 2 ifs and an else, or 1 if and 1 else if and an else. Then you know you're gonna be here, so you only have to handle left, right. Left, right is gonna be handled though, based on the column number, all the way down to here.
Oh.
Right?
And then we get to row 9.
And then when you're here, you gotta handle the cases of not having anything down below it,
Okay.
right? So you can get away with a lot less if statements. You can do a lot more if statements too,
Okay.
right? But if you think about what you're doing, handle the columns, handle the top and the bottom, and then everything else is in there in between that.
And then you got to say like the with the row and then there is like they like what? 2 more if statements?
Well, it just depends on how you want to do it,
Okay.
right?
I mean,
So I'm handling row 0 by itself. Handling here and here, and then I'm gonna have an else for everything else. And then from here on down to here, it's gonna be the same code, so I'm gonna just handle that it's not row 0. I just have to handle column 0 and column 9, yes, Aaron.
So for my if statements for this corner, what I did is I did if array sub r sub c equal array sub 0 sub 9. That's what I did for my if statement, and I'm almost wondering if it didn't go into that if statement.
Sub 0 sub 9 is not going to work because sub 9 is going to be that, but sub 9 is a value, not.
That's what I think I was
the
referring
column,
to. I'm not
right?
actually grabbing the element.
You're grabbing the element, not the column.
Yeah.
So think about what I'm doing here, right? All I'm doing is I'm handling top left corner right here. I'm actually handling row 0 in this case. I'm handling top left corner. I'm handling top right corner, and then everything else is going to fall out between that. And then from everything down, from row here to down to here, it's going to be the exact same code. I'm going to handle the left column, I'm going to handle the right column, everything else is going to be in the middle. And then when I get down here, it's just going to be the exact opposite of this one right here. Okay? That's the easiest way to do it. If you think about, hey, I've got to handle this row, I've got to handle this row, and then everything in here is exactly the same, but in this case I have to handle that column and that column. Right? You can do it in less than 9 if-else statements, or you can do it in 9 if-else statements. Right? But you have to think, handle this, then I handle the rest of that, handle this, I handle the rest of it, and then again, this is the same thing. Handle this all the way down to here, handle this all the way down, but the code in here for those ones are all going to be the same. Right? The important thing to recognize here is this. So I'm not going to repeat this code again and again and again. This gives me the sum, right? I pull out all the values out of the array, and if I'm anywhere else in the array, then I'm going to have 2 more statements. I'm going to have the left and the top, right? So anywhere else but the column 0 or column 9, I'm going to have 2 more pluses on here, right? I'm going to have array sub r minus 1 c and array sub r c minus 1. That gives me the value into the solutions array. The solution array gives me a value that I add back to this value right here, the one I'm working on. I look at that value. If it's less than 0, it's capped at 0. If it's greater than 0 or greater than 3, it's capped at 3, and I write that new value into the temp array. And then at the end of this whole ugly mess, I return temp, and it becomes the old array now that I'm working on. Right? Paul, did you get that?
Yeah,
Did you struggle with that?
I did.
Yes.
So what did you struggle with, Paul?
Well, I didn't really.
Garrett's shitty videos, that's okay.
A little bit, but like, I didn't really understand how I was going to interpret the mathematical parts.
So
of
when
the
I'm
code
literally
and shit.
doing this for 2 days in a row in class, and now this is the 3rd day, you don't want to put your hand up and say, I'm still freaking lost, Steiner. Give it to me, explain it to me in numbers, and show me some code.
Well, I'm getting it now.
So wait,
But,
Yes,
like-
I'm doing it now, but I was hoping you'd get, better score than the 0 you're getting on the assignment.
Yeah.
so I was wondering if reading on was so important, but you mentioned it. Now I think about hindsight, like read up, like it's been the parse it, whatever it is. Is that how you get through the file itself, so you can read the stuff properly? When you
Yes,
read up?
find out whatever, right?
But yeah, like I
So
wanted to-
this code right here,
yeah, like it's
return, right? That's just a shortcut way of saying int num gets integer.parseInt and fin.next
So
line,
you go
right?
through the
That read the whole line in and converted that line to a number,
Okay.
right? Here though, when I'm reading in the array, because the file, those 10 elements are on the same line. So I do not want to do a fin.next line here because then I will lose all the other numbers on that line.
So fin.next does that. So
Fin.next will read one number, stop on the white space and go to the next number.
okay. So that's also important.
Yes.
But
Other questions?
I was getting an index out of bounds error for one of the if statements for
Sucks to
runs.
be you.
I know. I'm almost wondering if, like, because my if statements were like valid arguments, I'm almost wondering if that
Yeah,
was
I'm
in
sure
there.
it is. Because you're probably pulling out like a -3,
Yeah.
or a 0, or positive, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're pulling out a value that Was that a range?
Like if I was trying to grab the value next to a number
Right.
to sum it together, I would do C minus 1, so it
Yeah.
moved to the left, and then it was telling me I was getting index out of bounds there.
Other questions?
I did fit not next in. What's the difference?
Next int's fine, next is fine, next int's fine, same thing.
Well, I don't think I did injury dot.
Well, because next int gives you a net int, well, see, that's the difference, Matt. You did just next int, which is what I did in class. This takes the string from next, because next and next line are doing the same thing, giving me back a string, and converts it into an integer.
Okay, but let's.
Right, I could have written this as fin.next int and does the exact same thing. Right, does the exact same thing. The whole point of this is you need to be going into the scatter class, into the strings class and saying, what tools do I have, and not rely on Stu to tell you what to do in class for everything, right? Because too many of you right now are relying and praying and hoping and whatever you want to say that I'm gonna give you the code you need. And for some of you, yeah, sure, I don't care about next int or next, that kind of stuff, right? But you have to understand the difference. In this case, next int or next, it didn't matter because we only had integers. But if we're gonna start mixing strings, then we're gonna have a problem, right? Mixing strings in with integers, because then the bloody carriage return is gonna come back and rear its ugly head, right? Other questions? So we're gonna start a new topic tomorrow. We're gonna start chapter 8. Okay, and chapter 8 is creating our own classes, our own types. Right now, up to this point, we have been using the built-in types, the scatter type, the file type, the string type, right? We are going to create our own classes now that are not going to have static methods in them. Meaning we're going to create our own class, which is going to be a collection of attributes and behaviors that completely describe something, and then create our own instances. So we're getting away from static on our method headers because we're going to create our own type. We're going to create a student type, and then we can make an array of student objects, right? None of that's going to have static in it. We'll talk about that tomorrow because there are 5 methods that go with that. There's actually a total of 7 methods that go with that, but we'll talk about all that tomorrow and getting you set up because this will be on the exam and this is really the meat of this class going forward. Everything we do from this point going forward will be based on us creating our own class, our own type.
Wait, so when you're in class, you can do whatever you want as long as you code it right. Whatever you want.
No,
Like,
not whatever you want. Very specific specifications are going to go into what we're going to do.
I mean, like, where you want.
No, it's not going to be, we're going to willy-nilly shit. We're going to do exactly what you're supposed to do in the Java language and not anything more. Which is not being wild and creating
I mean,
stuff that
like,
makes you
whether
happy.
Java's equal. That's what I thought. Whether